Hello, hello.
Hello.
You are Jessica Tiff, and Jessica and her husband Otis and your two little girls. You've been living around here for a while now in the Vilca area. How long have you been here?
We will have been here for 5 years in August.
Okay.
So it's about 4.5.
Yeah.
Now, almost.
All right, and you guys came down from California.
We came down from Silmar, California.
And why? What drew you here?
I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into the reasons why. We just had to get out of the States, mostly because, I think everything else we were kind of able to deal with, but we really wanted another child, and our daughter at the time was about 3 and a half, no, like 3. And, we started hearing about you weren't going to be able to get any more, what's it called, where you were able to a reason to not get vaccinated for her.
No more exemptions.
An exemption, yeah. So we heard that they were not going to give any more exemptions out, which meant that she would have been forced to get vaccinated. And that was like one of our huge, we made a really big deal about not wanting her to get any vaccinations. And she's only had, I think, the vitamin K. And they said that we couldn't deny that when she was first born. So that was the only one she had ever had, which we caught a lot of flack from like friends and family, thinking that we were not making the right choice. But to us, it was kind of like, poison our child. And, it's not guaranteed that you're not going to catch these illnesses and diseases, right? Or take the chance, and if they get something, then, but versus her possibly getting, autism through vaccinations. We did a lot of research with that, and it ruins the whole family's lives. It's not just the child, it's everyone. I guess that's if you believe that that's the, connection, which is what we believed. So that was just the last straw, and we just couldn't do it.
And if I'm remembering right, you guys actually worked with children with autism up there, right?
We did. Otis worked in a middle school. He was a teacher, teaching a class full of children with autism, severe autism. And I worked with children with mild, but so it was more like social awkwardness, and some weren't very verbal, but they seemed normal if you didn't know them personally. But you still see the struggle, and they lived hard lives, and it just wasn't anything that we wanted to experience personally, within our family.
Wow.
So we saw firsthand the effects of it. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize that about being such a primary reason for you guys coming down here. I'm getting like goosebumps hearing that, because I know that was a big part of what you guys were doing up there, and it's, like you saw it firsthand, and you didn't want to.
We couldn't do it to her. My heart breaks when we were doing the research and seeing, videos and evidences of families that when their child was born, they had lights in their eyes, they were present, they were there, they were just growing beautifully. And then once the vaccinations happened and once they were affected, it was just, everyone described it as like the light just went away. There was no light. There was nothing there. Their child was just gone, like not present, or still in there but trapped inside or something, and not able to really control physically, and not really able to speak or walk anymore. So there was a huge difference. So people knew that this was a direct, connection between the vaccination and their child, becoming autistic. So it was just very heartbreaking. It broke up families, and one parent would be able to handle it, the other wouldn't. So the one that was able to stay and care for the child, but the other parent that wasn't able to do it would just leave. So now there's all this burden on the one parent, siblings that needed the parents' attention, weren't able to get it because they were so occupied with the child that had autism. And it just destroys everything. And I don't know. It's just really hard to witness and see.
Wow. So you guys want it out.
We wanted it out, and that was the last straw. You could call us conspiracy theorists. There was a lot of things that were, concerning, very, very concerning, social aspects, education, work-wise, just everything, the family structure being broken, let alone if you minus the whole autism out of the equation, it was still such a hard life to live out there. And we're made to believe that we are free, that we can live freely, but if you wanted more, it wasn't free. If you, in some states where you were growing your own food in your front yard, you would be cited. And in certain areas, like they couldn't even grow food in their own, like on their own, land. And it was just a lot of questionable things. And the chemtrails, I would wake up and go to work around 7, and the sky would kind of be blue, because we lived, California is mostly like a desert region, right? So the normal weather pattern should be blue skies. There wasn't a lot of clouds, so and some days when we did have clouds, it was very beautiful, but it was just fewer and fewer days where I was able to see blue sky. And I would see the planes starting up, and I saw the line starting, and I'm just like, oh great, every day this is what I'm having to breathe in, all this toxic and poison. And by midday, by noon, all of that would have spread in this like crisscross pattern, and you see it spreading, and then the entire sky would be a blanket of like white. And I would go to work and kind of tiptoe and mention like, hey, what's going on with the sky? Like, what are these lines? I knew the answer, but I was trying to see if anybody else noticed, and no one, not one person, I knew what I was talking about, and they just thought I was just crazy, and I thought everybody else was crazy. Like, how are you not seeing this? Like, no one observes and really look around them in their, environment anymore, and notice. But I guess we're so occupied with everything else, right? They keep us so occupied or entertained that you're not able to really open your mind up and see a difference or notice if there's changes. It was really hard.
Wow.
We couldn't really talk to too many people about, things like these.
Right.
That were directly, like, affecting us.
Right. All right. Now we are joined by Otis. your husband. And your girls, we ought to mention they're 8 and 3.5, right?
Yes.
At this point, yeah. So really similar in ages to my girls.
Yep.
Yeah, so Jessica was just telling us some of the things about what led you guys down here, Otis. Is there anything else you want to add about?
Yeah, I just think basically just quality of life. I mean, with all the other stuff aside, we just wanted a better quality of life, more time to spend with our children and each other, and less time on the grind as far as working all the time. And yeah, it just felt unsustainable. Like, I was working so much that I almost never saw my daughter, and that was like one of the main motivations, like I couldn't understand like how you could be in your child's life and only see them for 4 hours a day, and then wake up and do it again. There's a lot more reasons, but that has been one of the greatest rewards for moving out here, is the time to be with my children and my wife. To be present, to watch them grow. I mean, when Naima was going to daycare, how many firsts did we miss? I mean, that the daycare saw that we didn't see, and so, and just the trauma of dropping a 6-month-old child off to strangers, and all that stuff is heartbreaking for everyone. I mean, for the parents and for the child, it's not. I don't think it's natural. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely not.
And we were like considered lucky because we both actually had maternity and paternity leave, and I'm sure way over half of Americans don't have any whatsoever.
Wow.
So we were lucky that we had that, and we considered ourselves blessed.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough.
And I guess a lot of people in the school system get 3 months off. So I had to return back to work for 1 day after the 3rd month, and that was so hard to leave her at 3 months, and she was so little still, and I was just like, like, how can I do this? This is not okay. This is not how it's meant to be. We didn't have them so that we can just pass them off to somebody else, Right. But luckily I was able to go back to work for the 1 day, and I was able to get some paperwork done and was able to extend it for another 3 months. So she didn't really continue long-term daycare until 6 months, but even still it was really hard. But I can't imagine everybody else who had to return to work after 2 weeks.
What?
2 weeks is probably like the most common.
Wow. And considering that probably at least half of those women have had cesareans.
Oh,
yes.
Probably more than half, because that's what they're pushing, is cesareans.
Yeah, and people making appointments now to schedule, their cesarean. Yeah.
What a system.
What a system. Yeah.
But you guys got out.
We got out. We're lucky that we found an alternative. We first tried to search different places to live in America. So we were going to try to find like rural parts of America to move to. And, before we realized that it wasn't going to work at all. And then Jessica was like, we got to go. But before that, it had never even entered my mind that you would leave the country. The greatest country in the world, the land of freedom, the home of the brave. Like, why would you leave this place? This is the best ever. Well, I found out that is the American dream is a dream for a reason, because you got to be asleep to believe it. I mean, you are free to work as much as you want to and toil away and consume and have nothing left over at the end of the year, so you can get up and do it again. But yeah, I don't want to go too far into that, but yeah. So we're here and we're happy. Do you want to go back?
No, not to live unless there's a drastic change with the direction of the country. But I mean, ever since we've been here and since we've left, it's been going downhill, and every day we are just so grateful that we're not there. And, you know, we send our love and compassion to everyone who's still there, whether they know if they need it or not. But as of right now, we just don't have any confidence in the direction of the country still, and it's in the system. So we want to, now that we've been here, and I mean, I've only left the country maybe twice before us moving out here, and I don't know how many times you've ever left the country, babe.
Like twice with just vacation, so you don't really get a chance to understand.
To really understand.
2 weeks is not enough.
No, not at all. So now that we've been here and have experienced this life, we don't really want to go backwards. We kind of want to keep moving forward, and the dream of traveling, you know, is now kind of a reality for us. You know, let's go explore another country and learn another culture and spend some time there and move along. And so kind of, you know, it really opened up our mind and our eyes to the possibilities, which who would have thought, like, that we would have more of that being a possibility than when we were in the States, you know, when we were able to make all this money but at the end of the month really didn't have anything left.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about money. I'm sure people wonder a lot of the time, how do expats here survive? Like, how do people make an income? What do people get up to? You guys want to talk about that a bit?
Well, I don't know how it is in other parts of the country or other parts of the world, but here, you can pretty much, if you have like an entrepreneurial spirit, you can pretty much manifest whatever it is that you want to do. Jessica and I, we do everything from making different foods or snacks that we sell in town at one of the local tiendas to we have a rental property. We both work online, but we've done other things too. Jessica's catered events. So basically, there's a lot more freedom to branch out and do what you want to do, and that's one thing that we really did like about here. Is like there wasn't too many barriers between you and what you want to do to make money. You know, it seems a bit straightforward, even for some of our friends that own businesses. You know, the permitting process seems a bit more straightforward than in the U.S. We were trying to look into just getting a hot dog cart, and that was just an amazing hoops and hurdles, and it was just there wouldn't be any money after paying off all the, you know, the fees and the permits and the inspections. And so it just seems like, you know, here in this part of the world, it seems like maybe the government doesn't want to have to take care of the people by giving them welfare, giving them this and giving them that, so they don't stand in the way of the people making money. That's my philosophy. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it seems like here in this part. That they allow the people to do what they want to do to make money, as long as it's legal.
I would have to say that is probably the most important freedom. You know, basically the freedom to survive.
Yes, right.
Without being on the hamster wheel.
Yes. You know, and I kind of want to start back from the beginning. When we're there, we're so busy working, right, that we hadn't had time to really acquire any skills or set talents. So when we got here, and once we you know, got our land and got our home built and went back to, you know, level ground zero. When going back to having no money at all and starting from scratch, and we were like, oh no, what are we gonna do for survival now? So, and because we didn't really have any true skills or talents or anything, Otis had started picking up gardening a couple years before we left. So like he had some of that knowledge. I personally, you know, didn't have anything. So what I only knew what to do was, you know, I love to eat good food and I didn't mind cooking. So that was the first thing we can do. We can feed people. We can, you know, sell food. So we started from that and thinking of like, okay, what niche can I fill out here with as far as food goes, you know? So being from a Khmer descent, I was like, I will make Southeast Asian food, and that should be something that, you know, people will desire. And we went from that to now being able to work online. So that took a couple of years, and we're still making a few things to put in shops. So, you know, just figuring out little things, what works and what doesn't, which we see a lot of people do. Ideas are very, very like gold.
Or like gold, like money out here.
So speaking about all of this, you mentioned, Otis, that you have a rental property. We're actually sitting in it right now.
Yes.
And let me try and give you a little bit of a tour.
Yeah.
It is so sweet. I love it. Look, there's like a little bunk bed area up there. Little kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, and we're sitting on this beautiful window seat right here. And you guys have this property on Airbnb, right? Like people can rent this.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like brand new, right? It's like just been here a few months.
Yeah, it's brand new.
Brand new. We're very proud.
We're proud of it. This was one of our visions, was to come out here and to have a rental property too. We were trying to think of ways of creating passive income so that we didn't come out and duplicate what we did in the States out here and come out here and work ourselves to death. So that was one of the main goals, was just to not to come out here and bring America with us. and because a lot of people will come from different places and bring some of their baggage here and really don't get a chance to enjoy life because they haven't been able to let go or haven't been able to learn that this is a new culture, a new place, a new environment, and you should embrace the changes instead of trying to force the locals to bend to your I don't even know what to say, bend to your desires, the way things should work. I feel like people have an easier transition when they come here with that mindset that I'm going to embrace the change and take the good with the bad. There are some things that are better here. There are some things that are worse here. But on whole, I see more things that are better than bad.
Yeah, the bad definitely does not outweigh the good.
The good, no.
The bad is probably, what would you say, Dave, like a 20%?
I was gonna say 10, maybe. I would say though, Angela, one of the things I think Jessica and I really went through when we first got here was like, we had guilt. We felt guilty for being here and for our families not. And it was really weird. Like, I didn't expect to have that. Like, it almost felt like, not that this is too good, but that we should be able to share this with other people, I think.
But then when we thought about sharing, we thought, oh no, like, how would that make them feel out there if they feel like they're trapped and they don't have the means to escape? So, you know, how would that make them feel? So then we didn't end up sharing so much because we we thought like, oh, we're those, you know, those jerks that are always talking about how great life is out here, and they're stuck, you know, going through the motions. And it did. We had a lot. Yeah, and it was a surprising feeling that we didn't think we were going to experience that. Yeah. So we had a lot of discussions with that, and so because of that, we didn't share so much. You know, it was very few and seldom.
If people would ask direct questions, we would tell them, but we didn't want to feel like we were gloating.
Right.
And how did people react when they knew that you guys were coming down here, friends and family?
Almost, I would say, on my end, I can't speak for Jessica, but almost everyone, except for maybe a handful, maybe less than 5, were very negative.
Yeah?
Very negative. Oh, you're running away, you know, you can't just stay and tough it out like everyone else. It's a third world country, it's not America. I mean, people that I had known and loved for years were kind of hostile. I mean, and it wasn't like these are like lifelong friends, but you know, we all have our own families, so we not like we were together and we spent a lot of time together. But yeah, that's one thing that I noticed. So what I did is I just didn't tell anyone. I stopped telling people that we were leaving. Like I didn't tell a coworker, I didn't tell anyone, because I just felt like I was being sabotaged before I could get all my cards in line, and I just, you know, so it was just very few people knew, and I can only say like maybe one positive person might have been my sister and her husband at the time, and her husband is from Dominican Republic, so maybe he understood and she understood. But beyond that, man, not too much positivity.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for me, I was, I remember one of my closest coworker, you know, who I did share, the few things that I did share with, I would share with her. And finally, she was just like, you know, well, Jess, what are you going to do about it? Like, when are you going to do something about it? Basically, I'm tired of hearing your complaints. Yeah. So I got to say, like, well, guess what? We're moving out of the country.
Wow.
And she was very happy for me, because I think it wasn't such a surprise to her. And I think for me, it wasn't such a surprise with people I knew. I mean, it was a shock that we were actually going to leave, but I guess knowing us, they weren't so surprised that this was the path that we were taking. So
yeah, we're like the unconventional couple, like the modern day hippie or whatever. You know, I don't know, grew food, and we tried to like just do different things, and I don't know.
Had our own like organic home eggs that we collected
in the middle of the city,
garden, organic gardening, and you know, we used to give like eggs to our friends, and I mean, we freaked out too when the eggs came out orange, and we're like, what's wrong with this egg? I've never seen an orange yolk ever. Why is it so like dark in color? And then later on, you know, figuring out that this is what nutrients, like real organic nutrients look like, I guess.
Yeah, not like, so it's really weird, but.
So yeah.
Wow, but since then you've had family come to visit, both of you, right?
We have, yes.
How's that been?
Jessica's parents,
my mom
and sister loved it, I thought.
Yeah, my mom and sister, I think my mom resisted because my mom was probably the only one that was probably the most negative in my life. But I think it was
negative
more
about you
traveling and leaving the country, but it was more so because she felt like she was losing her daughter, right? That she was probably never going to see us again or whatever it was, because I'm probably the closest one to my mom. So that was really hard for her to accept and to deal with for a while. And, you know, from talking on the phones and showing her the land and everything and what we've been able to accomplish out here. So, you know, little by little, I knew that she always understood why, but I think she just didn't want to really accept it. But then she came out to visit finally, and, you know, even the travel from the airport to here, she was kind of like, what is, you know, all these mountains and who lives here, mountain people, and what do they do here? But then she really, really loved it, and she spent a lot of time in the hammock, you know, video chatting with her friends and family and showing them, you know, the land and the property, and I can just hear the change of tone and how proud she is, and you know, she loves to garden also, so she was constantly telling us what we were doing wrong, what we needed to take care of, and so yeah, they really enjoyed themselves. I think just unplugging, and they were almost here for a month.
Yeah.
So they really got to embrace, you know, a little bit of this life. Yeah.
But this life isn't for everyone.
No, ma'am.
It is not for everyone. And I'll tell you that right away. If you are still into, you know, the hustle and bustle, the live entertainment and all these different things, then you will probably not enjoy yourself in this particular region too much.
Yeah, here. But there's still the city also.
There's still the city.
So that doesn't mean that, you know, that whole lifestyle doesn't exist outside of the States. It's just a change of environment. But if that's what, you know, they're seeking, and if they want to leave, there's still all of that option.
They
for
need to
them
move
as
to like
well.
one of the major cities. And,
Right.
and there's a lot of people that have relocated here that live in the cities and they love it. Like
Cuenca
I
has
think
like a huge extranjero community,
population.
right?
I think it's I don't know if it's still the #1 country for U.S. retirees, for pensioners.
Wow.
But it was when we came here in 2015 because of the cost of living.
Yeah.
But my mom came, and I think it might have been
Too soon.
too soon. We had just left. We didn't have our land. We had a rental only.
We were in the rental.
The rental was full of all the stuff that we brought down in the container, so it was like no room in the living room. It was kind of cramped and crud. And my mom's a city gal, and she didn't enjoy it. But now it's what, 4 years later? Her mindset has changed.
Changed.
It's funny to say she's slowing down. My mom's like 60 something, so she's finally slowing down a little bit. And now I hear her talking about, I think I might want to move to Costa Rica or Panama.
Really?
And so the lady who didn't want to leave the States, you know, and who came
I'm gonna stay and fight.
and didn't enjoy herself here, I think now, just seeing the kids, I mean, her grandkids are always smiling. We're always smiling. That's one thing. We don't have the amount of stress that we did before. I mean, it's been reduced by 80%. And I mean, just that in itself is just like a blessing. Stress is a killer. And
Now, how many years do you think we've gained with our life extension?
I literally feel like I've aged in reverse out here. I mean, maybe not on the face, but it's just like I can move faster, lift more, run more, do this.
Wow.
Way more than when I got here. I feel like back in my mid 30s or early 30s, and so I just feel like the lack of stress, and this made our relationship better, I think.
For sure. That's another thing too, relationship. You have to be pretty solid because, you know, going from hardly ever seeing your spouse to being around each other 24/7, you gotta really love each other.
You do. You have to. Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to.
But you know, it's because people come out here, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, Angela. You know, families either making it or breaking. and other people who have come out here, the husband or the wife would love it, and this is for them. The other spouse would realize that this is not where they want to be, and this is not for them anymore. But there's also a good number of singles out here as well. So people link up really quick and start a whole new family, and they're happy, and the other one is probably happy with where they are at, you know?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a
Yeah.
test.
I don't want to say like this is for everybody.
No.
I don't want to like sell like the big dream,
Right.
but if you're looking for something different, if you're looking for like some type of alternative, if you're looking to slow your pace down a little bit, then I think moving maybe to rural America or outside of the country, and maybe not even to this country, but just broadening your horizons, you'll find out that life is, there's a lot more to enjoy about life instead of just constantly staying on the work grind.
For you guys, what specifically brought you here to Vilcabamba?
Wow. See, that's a question I ask everybody, because this place, this little small place in the middle of nowhere, has drawn all
And the
these
Andes
people
and the mountains.
from
like-
all over the world. I mean, there's just like, you can find, it's almost like a tiny America. You can find, it's a melting pot in this little town of 5,000, 6,000 people, which is really weird. So I always ask me people what brought them here. And it seems like most people come here like something, there's a calling. So when Jessica was like, we have to leave,
Yeah, I mean, because we originally thought we needed to just leave California and be in Middle America somewhere.
build an
Okay.
Earthship.
Build
That
an
was our
Earthship.
plan. We were going to build an
But then
Earthship.
we were like, an Earthship, okay, it's still gonna cost $300,000 or something, so we're still gonna be in debt.
and
Where are we gonna be in the middle of nowhere doing what?
and
you
they
know?
don't let you, and it's not permitted. You can,
It's
it's
not
only permitted
permitted.
like in like a few states in the whole
New
country.
Mexico.
New Mexico, Taos, Mexico, and then like a
Yeah.
few different places, Montana. So they don't want you to go off grid. They don't really want you to you know, disconnect from the hustle and bustle.
So I was finally just like, we just need to leave the whole country.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go here, babe. We need to just leave the country. And I think that was the first time Otis had heard that as an option. and I think, did you accept it right away, babe?
I think when you
I
said
can't
we need to
remember.
leave, I was like, so you just, I don't know how it went. I know that once I came on board, I probably thought it was impossible. You know, not possible. I didn't know many people who had ever left the States. So, but once what she said made sense, because I couldn't find any other place to go within the country. So what she said made sense. And then we just started looking. We
And
just
then
clicked.
Otis did the research.
I just went on.
And I came home one day and he was like,
I think I found it.
I was like, what?
I think I found it.
And he
Yeah.
said the name.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that sounds amazing. Where is this?
Uh-huh.
Vilcabamba. And he was like, all right, let's look it up. And that's when we
I
just
didn't know anything
started.
about this place. I swear, I was researching cheap places to live with low cost of living, and so I started looking and to grow
That
food.
was like
I
your
really
main
wanted to grow
goal,
food,
babe.
Right.
and I found out that a lot of American pensioners would come here because they could survive off of their Social Security check. So I was like, okay, that might be a good spot. And then I don't know how the name Vilcabamba came up, but I heard the name Vilcabamba and it resonated. Then I heard the name Mandango and it sounded like ancestral. And then I told her I think I found it. Then we researched it and it was like, oh, the weather's like spring all year long. I was like, I can grow food all year long. And then it just kept clicking and clicking and clicking.
Yeah.
Things just like kept falling into place, and everything that we would research and find, and it was just all so positive and just a breath of fresh air, we were like, we can breathe. There's another possibility.
It happened so quick. So I think this was in October. Jessica said we need to leave. On January 2nd or 3rd, we put our house up for sale.
Yeah.
Wow. Which year are we in here?
2014.
It was 14, but 2015, January, we put our house for sale.
Wow.
And so from October to December, every day I just research, try to figure, get everything lined up. And Jessica's mom's like, yeah, you guys aren't leaving. I'll believe you when you put your house on the market. Boom! It was on the market. It sold like that.
Really? Oh my goodness.
We started liquidating all our stuff. We had like
3
3 cars. And we
What?
A house.
we just started selling, and everything just went in. It just like the universe wanted it to happen. Like it just sold, and we got the prices we wanted for everything. People didn't really want to over negotiate, and we didn't even have to get a rental car. We drove our car to like the last week, and it sold the week we were leaving. You know what I mean? That's how everything worked out for us.
The
and we never came here. We've never been here. We've never seen Vilca.
Wow.
We got on a plane. I
just
remember
saw a bunch of videos, which we saw some of your videos as Matt and Angela, so that was cool. Yeah, and that was a whole nother thing too. Actually arriving and then meeting people that we saw. It was kind of like, oh look, mini celebrities, like, and they're right here in front of our face. It was cool.
it was cool.
Yeah, the whole experience was really amazing. The longest part of the process was paperwork. So if you do decide to leave or anything, make sure all of your paperworks are all done prior to leaving, because it's pretty difficult once you get here, and it can cost a lot of money having to send paperwork back and forth and everything. So we waited for 6 months for one of our police reports or something, and that was the one thing that we were really waiting for mostly. So, which was why we didn't end up leaving until August of 2015.
Wow. So it was like half a year from when you put your house up.
Yes. So we went between his mom's house and my parents' house, mostly my parents' house, and that's how we lived for.
Yeah, we spent like 2 weeks there, a week here, and 3 weeks here, and then we just, we didn't try to overstay our welcome too long, and that's just what we did.
Naima was an amazing traveler.
Yeah.
She spent a lot of time sleeping on. We had bought one of those cushion, air mattress thing that was really cool. It's kind of like the memory foam, but with air. It's kind of automatic. So she spent a lot of time sleeping on that everywhere we went, and she was just a trooper.
Wow.
A trooper, yeah.
And she's in school here now, right? She's in public school here in
First
Ecuador.
year.
How's it going?
Awesome.
She is loving it. She loves it. She's been asking for it for the last year, so she was ready. We had started home. Well, actually, Otis had started homeschooling her once she turned 5. So she learned a lot, and that really helped. Once she got into school, she was able to catch up. It was just a language barrier, but now that she's in a public school surrounded by Spanish speakers, she started to pick it up really quick. So that's a really sweet progress to see. Yeah.
And the fact that she wanted to go to school, she's never once come home with a tear in her eye. She's never once said, I don't want to go back. And when she first started school, she was like, when the weekend, when do I get to go back? You get to go back on Monday, so we're so happy, and we've really grown to love this little community and her little school and the little things that they do, the Christmas programs, sports programs. It's been so cool, so unexpected, and that's one thing that I really, really find hard to wrap my head around. Is like, how can this country with very low tax base, they don't really overtax the residents, how are they able to provide so much stuff for their citizens? And I come from a place where I was just overly taxed, and everything that I needed to get, I had to pay for. So if I needed if we had one extracurricular activity for our child, we had to pay for it. If healthcare, I mean, we had to pay for. We have healthcare through our job, but we still had to pay for it. It came out of our checks. It really boggles the mind. I mean, literally taking so much money from us and providing so very little in the form of services.
Well, I know we had just discussed it about like the whole middleman, where that's what America is kind of based off of, is everyone is in between you and your goals, or you and getting something, and everyone is taxed, and there's always this middle person that doesn't
or two or
need
three
to be there, 2 or 3 that we don't see here, and I mean, our income tax is like 30%. 30%, that is a huge
30.
chunk.
It was way more.
Like
it was
30 something percent.
Yeah.
And that's just income tax, And we
And
still
state
have
taxes,
state tax,
property taxes,
and then consumerism tax, like
car registration,
everything,
mandatory
is taxed.
Insurance.
But yet we still have potholes in our neighborhood. The whole country should look immaculate, and it's not.
Everything's going to war. That's all.
Everything's going to war. But, and I think a huge part of it is that everything is just simplified here. It's just, even with Naima's school, and I see her work and the things that they're having to do, it's just simplified, and there's simple instructions, but you have to be able to read it and understand what the directions are. And then, one would ask, like on her exam, circle such and such, whatever answers, cross or put an X on this one or underline. And I thought about, the children in the States. I'm like, do they even understand that? How to do those kind of exams anymore?
Bubble. ABC,
it's just
ABCD.
all bubbling.
That's it.
And just the teaching methods are so simple, but they are learning. They're learning real basic knowledge that is necessary.
And they're out by noon, like 12, by before 1 o'clock. They're home.
They're home.
And I feel like she's learning like way more. I mean, we come from an education background. I feel like she's learning way more than she would in the U.S. going to school for 8 hours.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh gosh. And then, kids are in school for that long, and then there's after school programs, and then there's outside activities that they go to, soccer or football or whatever else, basketball. And then, so people don't ever see their children, and then you become chauffeurs when you're outside of work, just dropping your kids off everywhere. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just not what we want out of life.
Right. And what about Spanish for you guys? Did you have any Spanish when you got here? How's it going at this point?
No.
No Spanish.
Mine's improved.
Yeah.
And I had 0 Spanish background. Absolutely none. But this is one of our other problems with extranjeros, being out here, having a lot of gringo friends. We tend to kind of hang out with each other,
Right.
and not branch out so much. So that does not help with improving our Spanish. But within this last year, having to register Naima and doing all of these, paperworks and things like that, I've been forced to interact more with locals, which I am so thankful for, because it got me out of my element. And so from that, I've been able to get a lot more practice in.
Nice.
And so mine's improved a lot, but I'm still borderline basic.
Yeah. Jessica's Spanish is better than mine. I feel like my Spanish was really good I learned construction Spanish, because I would talk to the guys building.
Ah, yeah.
Otis knows construction talk.
Nice.
And I feel like I'm able to communicate to get my needs met. So if I need to shop or do anything, I can find the words for those. I need to get here, I need to get there, I need this. Where I don't have is my conversational Spanish, because I don't sit down and have long conversations with people that speak Spanish.
Right.
Therefore, it doesn't stay stuck in. But that's one of the main goals. I mean, we came here, we were like, we're gonna come here, we're gonna integrate as much as the society allows us to integrate. And that was our plan. When, you know, we didn't want to come down here and you know, stick out like sore thumbs. We just came down, we want to embrace the culture. So we are very, we understand it must be done. Yeah.
Do you guys see yourselves staying here, like kind of the rest of your lives?
I think we want to use this as a base, as a base to like travel and see the world, because this is the main difference that a country like this will, and this is the point I really want to make, is that here, we bought your land, we built our home. Okay, so now our monthly expenses are food, electricity, internet, and water. And then, you know, whatever else comes along with that, buying clothes and whatnot. In the States, I would say 80% of what most people make goes into housing, especially in California. You know, one bedroom. I remember there was a single. This is like before we had children. There was a single down the street. It was a single. It was smaller than this living room. It was like $900 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, our friends have like 2-bedroom apartments. They're paying like $2,400 a month. So because we are able to, we make a lot less money than we made in the States, but we're able to save more because our monthly expenses are less.
Wow.
And that's going to provide us the opportunity to now branch off and see the world, because we couldn't do it back in the States. Or if we did do it, we could do it for a week at a time. Or maybe 2 weeks.
Our monthly expense thing.
I don't know. I don't want to get
Break
so.
it down.
Oh yeah. Or we can say how much we pay in bills, like.
Yeah, bills. Basically, like a little over 100. It's 40 for internet, about 40, or less than 40 for electricity.
32 for electricity.
And then there's water and property tax, which we pay once a year. And that breaks it down to about, both of those together, like maybe 10, 15, at the most 20 a month.
And water's like 120 for the year, and property tax is like $42 for the year. I mean, yeah.
What is that? So like
It's-
a little over 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our monthly expenses are like basically 100, 110, $20.
Wow.
And everything else we can so that therefore gives us we're not under the pressure to be on the grind so much. So like, for instance, if one of us has to work or do something but the kids want to go out and hang out or do something, we can say, okay, you know what, we're just gonna take that time off and go do that, because we're not under that constraint.
Right.
Oh,
That's
so
that's freedom. That's freedom,
That's
I think.
freedom.
Yeah.
And having the time to get to know who we are and who we're meant to be. This is part of like the whole skills and you know, talents that you didn't know you had, or didn't think it was a possibility because you did not have that time. Time did not allow it.
Yeah.
If you're working 24/7 all the time, right? So getting the chance to, or the possibility to discover yourself again out here, that is another huge factor that, you know, that only people who live these kinds of lives could understand. I mean, there are people in the States that have figured out small businesses with Etsy and things like that. You know, they've been able to do it. Those who are fortunate enough to maybe have a spouse that makes enough where the other spouse can stay home and have that time to be, you know, stay-at-home moms and to be creative and get to know themselves. So for those people, you know,
You're blessed.
yes, so blessed. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for
You
us.
were working stiffs.
Yeah, we
it.
had to come out here to really get to know that part of who we are and figure out.
I became a baker. I became, you know, I just do all kind of little stuff that I never knew that I could do. You know, making like sorbets and desserts and all type of stuff for the kids. And like, who would have known? I probably would have thought I was like too manly to do things like that or back in the States. But here's
making homemade pizzas and
we just do
cheese,
it all.
and we're just like, oh my God, that's right. We could make it from scratch.
Wow.
As if before in the States, that was not a possibility for us. We went to the store, you buy the pizza dough, you buy the sauce in a jar, and that was called making homemade pizza, right?
Right.
But even then, like, a lot of people just order. You
Right.
don't even think about even going that, taking those extra steps, you know? So there's just so many things that we've discovered and we've been able to learn, and that in effect opened up our minds even more so into what else is a possibility.
I had no online skills as far as working online before I got here. I don't think Jessica had any either. So if you come out here and you reinvent yourself, you figure out what it is you can do and you do it. And
Or if you can find an online job prior to leaving,
that would be excellent.
that would probably be the best option.
I think those people have transitioned better.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
transition way better because they have an income. We knew we were going to come here. We knew our money was going to be done and we were going to be broke and we were going to have to start over from the beginning, but it was worth it. It was worth it to know that for that, and you know, just for the shot. I mean, we had to make it work. I mean,
Failure was not an
failure was
option.
not an option. I mean, we're not going to come out here and fail. So we had to be really, really, really wise with our decisions. But
even if we did fail, we have a roof over our head. We have land that we can grow food on.
Right.
So is it really truly failure?
Right.
You know?
yeah.
And you mentioned that you wanted to have another child, and it kind of felt like that wouldn't really work in the US. And so you have your other child now.
Yes.
She was born here, right?
She was born here as soon as we got here.
I got to be a doctor. So my first child, the hospital just cut me out the loop. I mean, I was in the room with Jessica and they would come in and turn their back and ask her questions like I wasn't there,
And I was out of it because of all the medications and everything,
and
right?
yeah, it was just like no. It's like the dad was I was not even an afterthought. I was almost felt like I was
Purposely.
not wanted, so that they could go about their agenda of giving her a C-section
Right.
because that's what they wanted to do.
Ultimately.
And then here I got a chance to birth our child. Our child was born in our home, underwater, and I was able to actually hold my child halfway in and halfway out in two worlds.
Wow.
Dude, you can't buy that experience. You can't understand there's no words for it. You can't put it into words what that experience will do for you. The difference between the pain my wife was in then until, I mean, she had our baby without a sound. I mean,
Wow.
not one moan, not just, and it just came. It was beautiful. I was so glad to have gone through this experience, and I would have never thought that was possible. If someone had told me that we're gonna have a baby at home in a bathtub in the States, I would have said, you're crazy. And I wouldn't have done it. I would have been like, no, we're going to the hospital. Because I was, you know.
That's all you knew.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, we knew we wanted another one. So as soon as we got out here, and I think we get to work right away. It was soon after we got here. So
When the house started construction, we timed it out and we was like, all right, let's go. And the baby was born.
exactly 1 month after we moved in
Oh wow.
to the house. Exactly 1 month.
To the
and
day.
we moved in
Early.
exactly what year
To the day
to the day
Oh, wow.
of
that
arriving.
we arrived in Ecuador.
Huh.
So it was like all these synchronicities of
Right.
like the dates and things. So everything just continued to just kind of lined up and fall right into place.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have to mention
I'm
though,
gonna go check on the kids.
okay,
Right.
that
Oh,
the
stop going,
hospital,
baby.
the hospital experience, I have to say was kind of similar to the States, unfortunately, because that whole Western medicine way of doing things has completely saturated this society also. So when I went to the hospital, you know, the doctor told me that I was not able to have a natural, you know, birth at home. And she had said that my belly looked, my baby bump was deformed, and you know, like these just kind of ugly, negative like words that, you know, and I just really, luckily I had a really strong midwife who was a personal friend, and she really did an amazing job helping me through everything and building, you know, my confidence as a woman, and just completely believing and my intuition and everything of my womanhood, and knowing that this is what I asked my, you know, this is our main question, is what did they do back in the days, in our ancient time, and what did our ancestors do, you know?
Right.
Well, this is what they did, and this is what we're meant to do. Our bodies and being a woman and everything, it knows exactly, it is made for this, right? So just always reminding myself of that, and really believing in myself and not listening to anything else that could deter me from that. Truly believing in myself and knowing that I was able to do, and that's what I was made for. And just, I having to birth another child in another hospital setting was just not an option for me anymore. I felt like I was robbed of that whole experience when Naima was born, and it was heartbreaking. You know, I was out of it, and I didn't really have the full experience of what that was.
Right.
And so having that change and the possibility of birthing my own child in a pool, in my room, in my own home, was just, I would say, another one of my biggest blessings in life. Experiencing, you know, the birth from when we found out I was pregnant to her being born was just priceless. It really was.
And the feeling that it wouldn't have worked to have had another child in the US, was that based on like finances, logistics? What was that?
Yes, basically, financially, we were not. It was just not possible, you know. And Otis and I were very good at saving money and making sure that financially we were stable, and we were, you know, we cut down on a lot of our debt to the point where we had no debt at all before we left. And but even still, everything that we made went into just expenses,
Right.
you know, and trying to eat healthy buying organic food, and that cost us over $300, and that would last us maybe a week and a half. So it was very hard. And then, I started to look into the whole food industry, and because we ate meat, and then being more aware of where the meat came from and how it was processed, and just feeling so heartbroken that I was contributing to the way things were because I was continuing to buy these food,
Right.
and I was just, it was breaking me down, really. So a lot of expenses with everything that we had, it was just not a possibility to have another child. Daycare and everything else comes into play, and we had to consider, and we are the type of people that like to plan and kind of see into the future, and we just did not see that happening. There was no way that we were going to be able to have another child and be okay. We were either going to lose our house, or something was going to give. So because of that, we chose not to have another one for a little while. They're 5 years apart. So, yeah.
You mentioned that in the US you were maybe spending like $300 a week on food. What would you say it's like here for you with food expenses?
We probably spend between 40 and 60 a week.
And that's feeding 4 people now.
4 people, and my girls and my husband, and we all love to eat, so they can eat. So it's food, But actually, now that we have been in this type of lifestyle, I don't know if it's the difference in the nutrients that we're getting from the food. We're actually eating less.
Wow.
I mean, the standard is like 3 meals a day, right, in the States. And I always thought that I needed those 3 meals in order to sustain myself. And growing up with my mom, always, she had her turmoils and turbulations that she went through with the whole Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot time. So she had starved and knew what starving was like, and she always had it in her mind that her organs are kind of messed up because she had to endure those hard times. So she always instilled in me that I always need to eat right on time, or else I would get sick. So growing up, I believed her, and I think I can say now that I mentally made myself sick. I used to be so hangry, right? Like whenever I was hungry, and Otis and I were dating, and he wouldn't feed me right away, or we wouldn't get to a place to eat fast enough, and I would be so angry. I'm hungry! Like, this is why I'm being like a bee right now. But now I realize that that is not the case at all.
Wow.
And now being able to just, even some days, just eating 1 big meal a day. So now our typical day is like, a breakfast, eggs and bread, and then a late lunch, a big lunch, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So that has become the norm lately.
Wow.
But yeah, so 40 to 60 a week.
Amazing. What would you say are some of the kind of mistakes that you see foreigners making when they come here, like kind of trouble that people get themselves in, messes?
It goes back to our attitudes. Not bringing back that whole baggage and all the negative effects of living in the States or other Western countries, and just that rude, rushed attitude, I need things immediately, now. I need to be satisfied now. That has been, I'm sure, a huge lesson for a lot of us. Even patient people like Otis and I, we had to kind of really learn and realize and recognize that, oh my gosh, we're doing it, babe. We need to calm down. Like, this is the way of the country, right? Everything they call poco a poco or tranquila, which is, you know, be at peace. It's okay. Things will get done. You know, it may take a day or two, whereas in the States, you know, you get immediate gratification. But that's not really the case when it comes to paperwork in the States too. I mean, we waited 6 months for our one paperwork. So I would say that is probably one of the major points. Another one would be just agreeing to pay whatever the locals ask, because this is what ruins a community as well. When you come from a place where everything is so high, everything costs so much, you come here and you're like, what? This costs like a fraction of what I would pay back home? Yes, I'll just pay.
Right.
And that actually in turn has a very negative effect on the whole community.
Right.
As for an example, somebody coming here to look for land and agreeing to pay X amount of dollars, just whatever the local may ask or another gringo may ask, and not doing your research and really, you know, honing in on what the actual value of it is, and negotiating. You have to negotiate, because what happens is when you just are willing to just pay whatever, or you're paying to get things done easier or taking a shortcut, you know, then in turn it teaches the locals that this is what they can do with the gringos or the extranjeros, is that they can gouge us and we will just accept whatever.
Right.
So in effect, it will start to trickle out, and now they're not only charging extranjeros that, they want to charge their own people the same, right? I heard that avocados were like 10 cents like a couple years ago or before we came. And once we got here, I think it was around 30 to 40 cents, and it's still about the same.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's because of the effects of you know, this whole transaction, of us just agreeing to just pay anything. You know, ask around, ask different vendors, you know, that's what we try to do. And it's not because we're trying to be hard on anybody or anything, but you want to try to pay what is fair, and what is fair for everyone across the board, right? So that what I would have to say is another challenge.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if maybe Otis will have something else to say.
Oh, I just wanted to say, in comparison to the $100 our monthly expenses here, we had this. What do we have to come up with, like $3,200 a month
What?
before food? Yeah, just to live.
Did you say before food?
Before food.
That was our monthly expenses in California.
Damn, what was that including?
Did he just come over here just to say that? I wanted Otis to maybe chime in on what other advice we can give. Yeah. And we made, between the two of us, we made like okay money, you know, and okay income in the States, but it was not enough.
Wait, but what was that covering? 3,200.
Mortgage,
Okay.
electricity,
Yeah.
internet was almost 100 something,
Damn.
and still it was not as fast as what we have here.
Really?
Yes. Yes. And it's just insane. And you know, there's all these traps that they get you used to, and then you think it's a necessity.
Right.
I need it. I need this brand new phone that's coming out, and I need it to be able to do this and that, which, I mean, 80% of like functions that you don't even know how to use on your phone. So, you know, but they get us into that mindset, thinking that everything is a necessity, and it's really not.
Wow.
Yes, we are truly, truly appreciating the simple life, for sure.
Yeah, that's something I appreciate about you guys is your gratitude for being here. You know, it's just really refreshing, you know, to hear the contrast, you know, like what your lives were like there, and to hear the appreciation that you have for the simplicity here and just the whole new way of life, right? That this has opened up for you guys, and the fact that you have an extra child now, you have an extra member of your family who would not be here otherwise.
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine life without her in
Right.
it, because I mean, and witnessing the difference of you know, having a child that was born here and watching her grow and her progress and everything, versus Naima, which we were very proud parents and we thought she was just a little genius, but now having Sodia, she's like on a whole nother level. And I don't know if it's because of this environment or what it is, and not all the distractions and you know, all the screen time and all of these things, and she still gets screen time, but you know, going outside to play every single day in this beautiful nature bound space. And I don't know, but there's a huge, I mean, there's quite a difference. Yeah.
All right, any final thoughts, bits of advice, suggestions?
If this is the life that you seek and you think that it might be for you, or if you are in any way, shape, or form of thinking that this is not what life should be, if you have that inkling or feeling at all, please explore, get out there, do research, start paying off your debts, do whatever it takes, to experience this, to get out there and see the world and see the different part of the worlds that how people are living in different cultures. It's like nothing else. It's invaluable.
It's just so worth it, right?
So worth it. so worth it.
All right, well, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
wonderful to hear
you.
from you guys. And we'll put a link to your Airbnb here in the description so people can come and stay here with you.
Yes, come and stay with us. We would love to host you here. You have your own private yard that, you know, you can just escape from all the madness. It's very, very peaceful and quiet here. Waking up to birds singing and, you know, hearing winds and trees swaying. If that's for you and that's what you desire, this is the place for you.
And no chemtrails?
No. It's actual real clouds.
Real clouds.
Yes.
Real mountains.
Real everything.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this interview and this opportunity to share with everyone.